Guys, so another video here. We're still on the old decimals, fractions, and percents. Now we're going to look at some more complex fractions going from a fraction to a decimal to a percentage. So fraction to a decimal to a percentage. Okay. If
Mr. Green.
Hey girls, that was just Alana and Niobe, walking by. So if we're solving for fractions, decimals, percents, trying to convert from one to the other, this is the path I recommend. For some of the easier fractions, it's best to start to learn. It can really help you when it comes to mathematics, knowing some of them, that like 3/4 is 0.75, which is 75%. Knowing that definitely helps. However, there's also a way of solving it. So if you're not sure what the decimal is for a specific fraction, for example, let's take 7 over 8. Okay, the 7 over 8 is really 7 divided by 8, right? We have 8 pieces. There's 7 of them. 7 divided by 8. So I can go ahead and put my 8 and 7 and do long division. So this is a nice review for long division for us. 8 goes into 7 0 times. It cannot go into 7, so I get my decimal. I can add my decimal here, and remember, after a decimal place, if there are no numbers, there is zeros going on forever, infinite zeros. So 8 can go into 70 64, which is 8 times. So I put a 0 up here. Okay, I do my subtraction. 64 minus 70, well, I can't take away 4 from 0, so I can carry this over. There's my 6. This is a 10. 10 minus 4 is 6, and I'm left with 0. Okay, so we have 6 left over. I can now bring down another 0. Now I have 60, and 8 times 8 times 7 equals 56. So it can go in 56. So that means it went in 7 times. Okay. Again, can't take away 6 away from 0, so I can carry from this. I get 10. Take away 6 is 4, and 5 take away 5 is 0. And if we do one more 0, bring it all the way down, 40. Okay. If we go 8 times 5, we will get 40. So 8 goes into 40 5 times, and 40 minus 40 is 0. This means that the decimal of 7/8 is 0.875. So we can write down over here that 7/8 is, as a decimal, 0.875. All right. Now, in another video, I talked about going from a decimal to a percentage, and I said we could times by 100. We could set it up down here and say 100 times 0.875. But quite frankly, when you're doing decimals to percentages, that's a huge waste of time. There's a much easier way. I mean, if you want to do it that way, that's fine, but I feel like it's way more work, because it is. So if you're going from decimals to percentage, we're going to move our decimal point 2 places to the right. So right here is my decimal point. So I'm going to move it twice to the right to get a percentage. If you're struggling to remember which way to move it for which one, think about it. Percents are always going to be bigger than decimals. Decimals, okay, normally, as long as our fraction is not an improper fraction, meaning that the number on top is smaller than the number on the bottom, your decimal will always be less than 1. Okay? But for a percentage, your percentage is normally going to be something between 1 and 100, or 0 and 100, I suppose. You can, of course, have a percentage that is less than 0. You could have like 0.02%, for example. That would just be a very small number. So that's just one way to remember it. So your percent normally should be bigger than your decimals. So if I'm going from decimal to percentage, I want a bigger number. If I want a bigger number, I need to move it to the right. So I'm going to move it twice to the right, once, twice. So now my new number is 8 87.5, and that's a percentage, so 87.5%. So 7 over 8, if you got 7 over 8 on a test, you would have received 87.5%. Now, quite often teachers won't leave it like that, and that would give you an 88 if it was a test. All right, let's try another one, shall we? Okay, let's go with one of my personal favorites, 5 over 6. Okay, these ones I'm doing are ones that are nice to know. If you can remember these decimals, it makes a lot of things in math a lot simpler when you see these numbers. For instance, I know what this answer is going to be just because I've seen this question so many times. So 5 over 6. Again, same thing. We're going to do our long division. 6 goes into 5. Okay. 6 does not go into 5, so we're going to do 0. Put our decimal there. There's our 0. Remember, we have as many zeros as we need. 6 goes into 5. Well, 6 times 7 is 42. Oh, that's not big enough. We can go bigger than that. 6 times 8 is 48. There we go. Don't forget, I also need my 0 there. So 48 subtract 50 is 2. Okay. And now if I bring down a 0, I get 20. All right. 6 goes into 20 3 times, as it's 18. That's a 3. And I subtract it. 20 minus 18 is 2. Bring down my 0. Uh-oh. You might notice a pattern. It's about to start. Anytime you have the same number come up twice in a row, that means we're about to start a pattern. Because what's going to happen? Well, 6 goes into 23 times. There's 18. Subtract it. I'm going to get 2. And I'm going to bring down a 0. I'm going to get 20 again. So basically what that means is that this 3 is repeating. So I could just write on top of this 3 a little bar, and I could stop there. This bar, reminder in case you've forgotten, this bar means repeating forever. So really this decimal is 0.83333333333333. I could go on forever. This number will never end. It's called it's a decimal that does not terminate. So that means our decimal. Okay, for the sake of this question, I'm going to write it as 0.8333, and I'm going to put a bar on top of the third 3 just to tell us that that goes on forever. Now, again, we want to go from decimal to percentage. Remember, if you're going from decimal to percentage, the number should get bigger, so you need to move to the right. Okay, if you had 100, right, and your decimal place is here, if you moved it to the right, you'd have 10,000. That is a bigger number. If you moved it to the left, you get 1, smaller number. Okay, so right bigger, left smaller. So we want a percentage that's going to be bigger than our decimal, move it to the right. Once, twice to the right, we get 83.33. This is repeating forever. I could have put another bunch of 3s if I wanted. I could have also done this if I wanted. Okay, and I guess technically, I could have even done this. Right, but it doesn't look very proper without the decimal place. It's normally more accepted if we have it after the decimal place. Okay, so this is 83.3. No, it's not 83.3. It's 83.3%. You can keep the bar there if you want, or if you're rounding, you can put it at 83.3, or as we did in the question before, if you're rounding to a whole without a decimal in your percentage, it would just be 83.